everyone. Today we're making crunch top muffins. I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees. I got my pan ready. In your bags this week you're going to have 9 of these little muffin papers. If you don't have a muffin tin, you can put it in a cake pan. Just set these little muffin papers in a cake pan. Just anything that will contain them should be fine. In your recipe this week, we have 3 sections. We have section 1, which is the liquid ingredients. We have section 2, which is the dry ingredients, and we have the topping. So out already, I have 3 bowls. I have all of my ingredients right here, and you're gonna be putting away as you go, same as always. So the first thing I'm gonna do is crack my egg in a separate bowl. And I'm gonna check the egg. Does it look good? Is there any color? Any blood spots? Is it clear? Does it smell? Did it break in half when I opened it up? Nothing like that, so that's a good egg. So always do it in a separate bowl first. A half a cup of milk. So I'm gonna take my liquid measuring cup and I am going to set it on the counter, look at the meniscus, and make sure it's exactly the right amount. And then I'm going to measure the oil the same way. The oil is 1/4 of a cup of oil, and I could put that on top of my milk if I wanted to, but I'm going to do it separately. 1/4 of a cup of oil. That is our fat in this recipe. And I'm gonna add those wet ingredients together. It says set aside, so let me scramble that up. This is just the milk, the oil, and the eggs. Just like usual, we don't put everything in together at the same time. Okay, the next step is my dry ingredients. It says 1 + 1/2 cup of flour. So overfill and then level off. Do not pack. Overfill and level off. 1 1/2 cups. And then I have a 1/2 cup of sugar. This is making 9 muffins. So it says 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We know that our baking powder is our acid. So overfill and then level off. Overfill and then level off. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that's just to enhance the flavor, right? We don't want to put too much salt. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're going to do the same thing, overfill and level off. Okay, the reason we put our dry ingredients together is because we want to mix those. We don't want all the baking powder to be on one section of our muffin and no baking powder on the other, because one would collapse and the other would be overfilling. So then it says make a hole in the bottom of your dry ingredients. So I'm just going to push these to the side. Sometimes it's called a well, okay? And then I'm going to take my liquid ingredients and I'm going to put this in. Now when we make muffins and biscuits, we never overmix. If you overmix, I'm going to tell you how you can tell if you've overmixed. When you have your muffin complete, you're going to cut it in half and you're going to look and see if there's looks like wormholes in it. If there are wormholes in your muffin, that means you overmixed. We're just mixing this up just enough to incorporate all of our ingredients. It's more like a batter. See how this is a batter? I have to make sure that all of that flour is incorporated, but I don't want to mix it too much. You can also use, you know, my favorite tool, the rubber scraper. We can use the rubber scraper to scrape the sides and then fold it over. That works a lot better than the fork. Okay, now I have a scooper that I'm going to use today. You can use an ice cream scoop, or you can just use 2 spoons like we did with the chocolate chip cookies. Let me show you how to do that. You can use 2 spoons, just spoon it, and then scrape with your other spoon. You can do that, or I'm going to use the cookie scoop today to make sure all of my muffins are the same size. Miss Antonelli's here helping me today.
Morning, guys. Afternoon, evening, middle of the night.
She helps us pack our bags.
Yowza.
So we owe a big thank you to
You're
all
welcome.
all of the aides in the hallway for helping us out.
A lot of love and care goes into it for sure.
Okay, now I'm gonna take my rubber scraper and I'm gonna scrape the bottom. I don't wanna waste any of that dough. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fill the ones that aren't exactly the same size. So you wanna fill it halfway to 3/4 of the way full. You want them to be nice and fluffy, but you don't want them to go over top of the edge. Now for the good part. We're gonna make our streusel topping, and that's with brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You see I have that other bowl there waiting for me with my butter in it. My brown sugar, we talked about packing in the brown sugar. Hopefully you can see I'm packing in the brown sugar, and then I'm leveling it off. I'm gonna put my brown sugar in there. I'm gonna put my flour, 2 tablespoons of flour, which is gonna hold it together. Hang on, I'm missing my measuring spoon. 2 tablespoons of flour, butter, brown sugar, and then of course my flavoring, which is my cinnamon. And that is how you make a little streusel topping. It's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, which is a lot. That's a lot of flavor on the top. Now, because your bags are packed, but you still have to measure things out because they're not going to be exact. We went over a little bit on all of your ingredients so that you would have to do your measurements. Also, you have 2 recipes with the same bag of ingredients. So don't assume that all of that flour is going to go into one thing. It might be going into your 2 recipes. Okay, so I'm going to take my pastry blender and I'm going to mix this up in this bowl. Do you see how this pastry blender fits right in the bowl? If you don't have a pastry blender, you can use a knife to break it up, or 2 knives to break it up. Just take your knives and cut it just to make that butter smaller. You can also do it with your hands, okay? If that butter's nice and cold, you can do that with your hands. So keep your butter as cold as possible, just like you did with the scones. And this is gonna make your little topping. So we're coating the butter with our sugar flour mixture. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it on top of my muffins. Right on top of the muffins before they go in the oven. So this is gonna give us a nice crunchy cinnamon sugar on the top of every muffin. So divide it out so that you have enough for each one. Okay. If some have more than others, just move it over. It's okay. Just move it over where you need it. All right, and then this is gonna go into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So the way we check to see if they're done is we take a toothpick and we put the toothpick in the center of the muffin, and if it comes out clean, that means the muffin's done. So when I put them in, they're gonna come out looking like this. I hope you have some good muffins. Have a good day. Thank you.